Okay, screen-wise now, John, what are you seeing?
A selection of slide presentations or slides, one or the other.
Perfect.
There
we
you
go.
On the main slide.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to our weekly broadcast. This is a 30-minute, fast-paced, informative broadcast that we do on behalf of LEOcrowdfunding. We are a property crowdfunding platform. It's co-hosted with my colleague, Mr. John Corey from Property Fortress. Morning, John, how are you?
Good morning, I'm good.
Good. And for those that know John, obviously he sort of spends time in the US as well as in the UK. So since before Christmas, he's been in the US, but being the dedicated professional that he is, he gets out of his bed about 4 a.m. and is on these most weeks at 5 a.m. So kudos, John, for once again joining us for our broadcast.
You should see what the makeup lady charges to come in and make me look normal.
Very good, very good. And obviously joined by our resident head of social media marketing, Mr. Asher Wiener. Good morning, Asher, how are you?
Morning, David. I'm all good, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. And you can see our special guest today, Mr. Adam Haworth. And we're going to be hearing from Adam, but very quick, hello, Adam. How are you today?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Brilliant, fantastic. Okay, let's get in here so we can get back to you, Adam, as quick as we can. So this is all about education. This is all about learn, earn, own. That's what our name stands for in terms of the Leo crowdfunding. And we are delighted that we can take this education and learning a little step further, because I'm delighted to announce that we have planned a special crowdfunding masterclass event. This is going to be on Friday, the 26th of February. It's going to run from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. So that's sort of 3.5 hour slot. And we're really excited and looking forward to this. We've been talking about it for probably 6-7 months. The whole COVID situation meant we postponed it. But I think that, and the team agrees, the timing is absolutely perfect to do an event like this. So it's designed to be like a crash course, all you need to know about property crowdfunding. And I believe this will be exceptionally informative, both for fundraisers and for investors. Now, John, obviously you're without doubt one of the most experienced people in property crowdfunding in the UK, sort of the go-to person, the name everyone mentions when they talk about property crowdfunding and compliance. So I think we're excited to put this on and covering key topics.
The other thing to highlight is that it's a very new topic for a lot of people. I'm still surprised when I talk to people how little they've heard of it or how little they've understood it. And so it'll be a good opportunity to get people up to speed, let them know how things work. And if they want to participate as an investor, great. If they want to participate as a party raising funds, that's great. But what is it? What is this tool in their toolbox that they could use? So I'm looking forward to this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. And I know, Asher, you're looking forward to the sort of the promotion side, and you've already been designing some slides, which is absolutely fantastic. So I know you're looking forward with the team and sort of putting this event on and really getting their teeth into this.
Yeah, totally. You know, I'm not only excited, I guess, to be behind a nice education project with the team, but also it'll be cool sharing some expertise and, you know, some good tips on how to really brand yourself and how to market your project, and, you know, how to try and really get yourself out there on social media platforms, and you know, get a good reach for your potential investors as well. So, you know, it's I'm really excited to get involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there'll be a small charge for this. We'll reveal all next week in terms of the more details on it. But for now, get that date in your diary, 26th of February, and we'll be announcing the various speakers. We're bringing some guest speakers in for different topics, which will just give us a whole different knowledge level and experience level, which I think is going to be absolutely fantastic. So really excited by this. So get that in your diary, and you won't want to miss this event on the 26th of February. So by way of market overview, John, what I did today was just pick a little bit out of Financial Times. Just to remind everyone, you can put questions or any comments you have into the Q&A box. We tend not to use the chat box. It's easier to control the questions from the Q&A. So if it is possible, you want to make a comment or have a question for John, Asher, or myself, or Adam whenever he speaks, then put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to deal with them. So John, just in terms.
Actually, sorry, I was going to say there actually already is a question here, which is entirely relevant. What do you see as the advantage to using crowdfunding platform for a deal versus working with one investor?
So why don't we hold that one to the end, John? And if we get time, maybe we'll answer that at the end.
Okay.
I don't want to go down a sort of an alleyway now. I want to get to Adam pretty sharpish, and then maybe we'll bring that in at the end, because perhaps there's a question we actually can pose to Adam as well directly, because he is a fundraiser. So if I forget, Asher, whenever we're dealing with Adam, then fire that one in, and Adam can answer that. So by way of market update, for the first time since the stamp duty holiday, John, house prices have fallen in the UK. So a little bit of sort of hot news there. And I suppose the question is it the first card falling in the house of cards, or is it just a monthly blip? And I suppose only time will tell, but what was your take on the news that the market's actually fallen?
So I have a few views. One is, I haven't seen the articles. I don't know what is the underlying cause, whether it's high-end homes, mid-range, whatever, and whether it's skewed towards city centers or anything. So it's an average, and therefore you're smoothing a bunch of data. Funny enough, I didn't read this one, but I read an article, I think it was New York Times this morning, about how prices are up all across the US and the increases are quite large. Supply is short, builders can't keep up, and the construction industry, real estate industry, all the other related sectors are like, oh my God, what's going on? Biggest rise in like 15 years or something. So I wonder if this article that you're citing is tied a bit to the whole stamp duty issue. That, there was a temporary relaxation. There's basically, so far, there's been no extension. And is this a short-term blip, up or down, all tied to one tax policy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it definitely had a relation to the expected ceasing, of the stamp duty holiday. It was a nationwide had done their index, and they had a drop, in January. So that was kind of the underlying stat. But I think it was, they were discussing, was it motivated by perhaps lack of confidence in the stamp duty holiday finishing? So it'll be certainly interesting to see. There's people predicting both sides of the spectrum at the minute. Some are predicting a huge crash 2021, and some are saying no, there might be some ups and downs and blips, but overall it'll stay stable. So time will tell. Another interesting thing that I thought, and it's something that Asher and I have discussed quite a bit about, obviously Asher living in London. The Financial Times had an article about what London's falling population means for the housing market. And the reason I frame it that way is that back about probably 2 months ago, when we had Tatiana Atalon on our webinar, and she was preparing for her property raise in Shenfield, the Oak Gardens, and we were discussing this trend of people moving out of London to outskirts where they could commute. And at that point, the discussion was, is there a trend? And now the Financial Times is not talking about, is there a trend? It's just, they're stating a fact that the population is declining in London, and then they're discussing what it actually means for London. So I thought that was interesting, John, and then I want to hear Asher's view on it as well.
Well, there's definitely my son says the same thing about New York. There's definitely a trend to, if you live in the city center, particularly a very large one like London, part of that is for the amenities, the restaurants, the nightlife, the theater, museum, and all that. So a large element of why you're there may be removed in this current COVID period. So as a short-term blip, particularly the rental sector, these people tend to be on shorter contracts than owners. They are more able to make a move. Maybe they want some space for a year. I mean, frankly, I'm enjoying having a bit more space now the last couple of months being here in the US compared to the flat in London. So whether it's a long-term thing or whether it's a temporary thing based on current environments is to be seen.
Mhm.
I mean,
Sure, do you want to just comment on that to wrap this up?
I mean, I think, yeah, I totally agree with John. I mean, it's you're going to see a lot of people that are on their, 1-year term rent, going to be moving out of London. If you've got a choice to do it temporarily, in terms of rental, with buying, I think it will be. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch, to see if this actually maintains, how long it will maintain for, and really to see what actually happens after things cool down. I guess hopefully in brackets. But I guess we'll really see how it moves when things calm down. If that's how it remains, and I guess in the UK, if prices are going to be a bit more spread now instead of it being a lot more focused in the city centres like London, Manchester, and stuff. So I think it'll be. I guess time will tell, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get on with our main part for today. Our special guest. We do this. It's designed to be real lives, real people, with real property experience, not just a couple of guys on a live broadcast talking theory. We want to keep hearing from people who are out on the ground, actually working in the property market. Call it the front line, the cold face, however you want to describe it. So absolutely delighted this morning to be able to bring on Mr. Adam Haworth. So morning, Adam. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning. Now you're obviously not in your home office. Is this a special soundproof bubble you have for live webinar broadcasts, or where are you?
It's the mobile office. It's in my car. So yeah, I got the job that I'm working with you on, which is in Witcham. We had decided that we had to have a site visit this morning to sort out a few things with the contractor and with the ground worker. So a bit like John, I was up early this morning, not quite 4 o'clock, but 5 o'clock, and we drove down to site. We've had a site meeting at 9 o'clock this morning.
Okay, so you're actually right now at the site in Witcham of the project that we're planning to raise for you.
Yes, looking slightly dubious in a lay-by next to the site. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Okay, well, maybe at the end of your section, we'll let you go out of the car and just pan round, and the attendees can get a live view of the site. So, but yeah, before that though, let's get into a little bit about yourself. Obviously, just explain briefly your background, your sort of education and property to where you are now.
Yeah, I'm a member of the RICS and got a degree back in late 80s. So I've been a member of the RICS for just over 30 years. Most of the time I've been in general practice or purchasing properties for various operators. But latterly, in the last 15, 20 years, I've been doing property development, working for developers. And then in the last 10 years, I've had my own company, which is doing property development consultancy and property consultancy per se.
Excellent. Okay, fantastic. So plenty of experience in that time. Here's put up a couple of just projects that you've been involved in. Do you want to just sort of 30, 45 seconds on each one of these slides, just in terms of the project, what it was, and your role in it, just to give people an opportunity to understand your experience?
Yeah, not a problem. That one was the conversion and development of an old, it's not actually the woolen mill that's shown on there, but that one's actually a engineering works really that had a little bit of contamination in the ground. So we had to secure the planning and for the new build section, which is what you see there, but we also refurbished a number of existing buildings. So it's taking me through the planning, dealing with all planning issues, managing all the design team, sorting out the remediation, and then managing the build all the way through and through to the selling of the units. So all sold, very successful.
Okay, very good. I mean, that's a decent size project. And I know this one was like 28 apartments, GDV of 5.2 million. So
yeah, this one, it was going back a little bit. It was one of the first ones I did, which was working for a local developer in Leeds. It was a conversion of an old woolen mill again, around Huddersfield, and it was just conversion into apartments. 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartments, and it predominantly went for the sort of, at that time, over 55s, over the 60s. And again, it's in a very good location, just on the outskirts of Huddersfield, a place called Almondbury. And again, very successful. It sold straight away. Most of them were off plan as well.
Okay, and the roles with these were very much on the project consultancy side. So you were the project manager. You were the, what was your specific role? What value did you bring to these projects?
I purchased the site. I negotiated the purchase, negotiated all the legal and managed all the legal section of the acquisition of it. Then negotiated with the contractors to sort out the build contract, then managed all that process along with the design team. And then when we're on site, we met every week, every month for regular team meetings to make sure it was on program, on time. And then obviously then bring in the estate agents at the end to sell it at the right time, not bringing it when it's all finished, but started to bring them in because they were in blocks. We were able to bring sort of like sectional completions.
Excellent, excellent. So really, yeah, overseeing the project, literally
the whole thing. Yes, really.
Excellent. Okay, so that's your sort of forte. Your strength would be in that sort of project management delivery of these type of projects.
I'd like to sort of say I'm the sort of safe pair of hands for the investors. If people want to, or even the client, depending if I'm actually being the developer myself or I'm acting as a property consultant, it's you take control of the development and it is your own. You want to make sure that you're doing everything correctly, properly, and within the confines of the regulations of whatever parts they may be, to make sure you've got a sound development. You don't want to fall foul of anything that outside of planning. You don't want to fall foul of anything outside of building control, and you want to make sure that the investors are protected to get their returns. So you really have to get into the real nitty-gritty and the detail to understand what's going on, and then manage the people in a non-confrontational way, really, to make sure that everybody's pulling in the right direction.
Okay, so your company, or your main banner, if you like, is H3 Property Consultants.
Yeah.
I'm always intrigued by company names. It's one thing I do regularly in meetings is ask people where they got their name from. So H3, what's that? What relevance is that?
H is for Haworth, which is my second name, and then there's 3 in my family: my wife, my daughter, and myself. So H3.
There we go. There we go.
Quite simple, really. Not much to do with property, really.
Yeah, but no, it's intriguing how different people approach the naming of their company, and I think it says a lot about the ethos of the company and sort of the value sort of attributes of the company in terms of what they name themselves. So it's interesting that you've gone with that. Fantastic. So if let's call it the minutes, then sort of John and I will bounce sort of different questions off you and sort of try and peel back, so we kind of get to better understand exactly who Adam Haworth actually is. So I think first of all, being a property consultant, so I know you do development yourself, but your main, if you like, core business has been a property consultant. What are the pros and cons of that, and how have you sort of enjoyed that journey over the years?
The pros are really based around why I came into property. It's nice to create something out of either a derelict building or a piece of land, something that's useful. That's always the pros, and I get a sense of pride of being able to assist in that process, making a lot of good contacts along the way, which is both in the professional team and with the builders and the contractors on site. And I enjoy property, really, and that's where the pros come out of, because I actually still enjoy doing it. The cons, it's the not litigation, but the red tape that's involved in securing the planning and sort of securing the upfront bits can be really quite frustrating, and it can probably knock a lot of new developers and investors thinking, oh my gosh, really? So I'm able to provide the assistance to get to that point, but sometimes it can be quite draining, because it is just, you feel as though you're constantly pushing water uphill. But experience has helped, and good team around you assist you to get to that point quicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, John, I know Adam's probably like so many other developers that we talk to regarding compliance. So an extra layer of this red tape that Adam mentioned there, John, is the whole area of raising funds compliantly. and obviously Adam's decided to come to our platform. But any sort of comments around that, or any sort of questions for Adam as to his view on that, or what even he was aware of it up until recently?
Well, it's like technical clarification. It's not our platform because it's not. I don't have any ownership in the platform. I'm the outsider, and frankly, I like using the platform for property planning uplift deals because I'm more the angel type investor at this stage in my property career, and I'd rather back someone like Adam or someone else that has experience in how to navigate the minefield, because there's definitely some gold on the other side of the minefield if you get your projects through. And being a passive investor, for me, I can actually spread that risk of like, did we come up with a dry well or a bad deal, by saying, well, I'll put some money across a number of deals. So I think it's perfect for my stage of my career, and it's also perfect for a lot of people who are just learning about property investing, because they can actually dabble, they can learn from doing. So I really enjoy both the planning uplift as a property strategy, and the crowdfunding facilitation of being able to back or get involved with people like Adam without having to hire him on a day rate.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, and interestingly, Adam, we've talked about the education side, and I mean, your experience is obviously phenomenal in terms of 30 years of doing what you're doing. You're very much a specialist, and obviously the projects you've delivered are really, really impressive. And obviously you do some of your own projects and work for other people. So in terms of education, I know you're more than happy that people invest in a project that you might bring to the platform in the near future, and literally almost have an opportunity to shadow you, opportunity to see how the whole deal gets put together. I know you're more than happy to share that knowledge.
I'm very much so. If somebody wants to shadow me along the way, that's fine. If I can help somebody to learn to avoid some pitfalls along the way, then that to me, I think that's worthwhile doing. I'm not wanting to ring fence everything and not share everything. No, I'm there to be open book, so people can learn as well as invest. It's a journey that I've enjoyed the journey, and I think other people, if they want to get into property, they need to spend the time getting the right people around them, the right team around them, and the right advice.
Yeah. Okay. So just on that, I'm curious, what do you reckon's been the biggest mistake you've made? Was it a mistake that that involved losing money? Was it a mistake that just involved the project being delayed? If you don't mind sharing that, what's been the biggest clanger you've dropped?
It's not really relating to a particular property. I'd say my biggest clanger was not really start doing my own development sooner. I've worked hard on getting everything through. There's not been anything that's either had an enforcement notice on it. I've dealt with situations where clients have got themselves with no advice, and I've been able to pull them out of it. I've not actually got into a situation where everything's gone horrendously wrong and lost loads of money. What my personal sort of mistake, I suppose, I should have gone into doing my own property development as opposed to being scared of doing it and doing it for other people.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. Asher, any questions coming in there, or
yes,
we're going to ask one from earlier?
There's just a statement from earlier about London birth rates. However, Julian has asked who owns the LEO platform. Then it was I think earlier we were discussing
the Leo crowdfunding platform.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, if Julian wants to email sort of separately, we can talk about that.
David, I think it's trying to explain the reference I made. Like you said, our, and I said no, it's not me. So explain Leo crowdfunding.
So myself and Aisha, my business partner, are the owners of the platform. John is on our advisory board. So yeah, sometimes when I say our, obviously Asher's on the call. So for Asher and me, it's our platform that we're involved in that sense. So it's just a bad use of English when it comes to that. So so John works closely with us, but he's not an owner or a shareholder of the platform. He's a consultant stroke advisory board member. So hopefully that clears that up.
Is there
so what
a
was the
page on the Leo crowdfunding site that goes into the background and the history and anything? The
Yeah,
about
it's on, if
page?
you go to the About Us, it'll definitely give a bit on that for sure. Asher, then, in terms of the question earlier that I said would ask Adam about, was it?
Oh, yes. No,
It's,
that's in
it's
our
the question that talks about the
so
advantages of working with one investor versus working with the crowd.
crowdfunding platform. Yeah. Yeah.
For me, if we're going through a crowd platform like yourself, there's no difference because I mean, there's one point of contact. The investors are going through your platform, and then for I'm dealing with yourselves at that point. I can answer any questions and provide any information that's required. That's the same as if I'm acting for one investor or a collective investors. So in terms of the process of raising the cash is slightly different, obviously, but in terms of the way that the process will work, you're still providing the same reports, you're still providing the same updates, and you're just issuing them to more people. But obviously that works going through Leo.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. In terms of investor management, it's one of the real benefits of property crowdfunding platforms is that the fundraiser, the developer, can get on with focusing on what they're good at and what their part of the relationship is delivering projects, and not having to spend time and resources kind of answering a whole bunch of questions or answering the same question asked by 5 different people. The investor management happens through the platform. We've obviously got a forum. So on the pitch page of any of our projects, there's a forum, and these are becoming very, very popular, and people begin to understand the benefits of these forums because an investor can leave a question. All the other investors on the forum can see the question. If it's for Adam's project, Adam answers the question and everyone sees the answer. And therefore we're getting crowd validation. We're getting like multiple eyeballs asking questions and looking at the project from different angles. And therefore it makes for much better due diligence. So that last question then, and then I want to talk about Witcham briefly, but from being on the ground, and obviously even right now you're on the ground in real terms, having just met people in your team. So how has COVID impacted the people that you know on property in terms of the effect it's had on them?
It's affected different people in different ways. I know this is easy to say. In terms of actually on-site construction, that's continued. There are new working practices under COVID, which I'm also a qualified principal designer, which is all the CDM, which is the health and safety side of it. So I do all that for all my projects as well, which is very important for anybody going forward. Now, on site, they have to do, there's a certain things that they've got to now adhere to in terms of COVID-19 working practices. It just probably elongates the program slightly, not massively. It just means if you're working on a brand new house, for example, and you're on the first and second fix, you can't have as many trades as you wish to have on site, but it's not stopping. The biggest problem is, again, upfront, where you're having to use the statutory bodies for planning. Planning is it was taking a long time anyway because the system's semi-broken, but now when people are working from home, it is quite testing and trying just to get your planning through. But you've just got to work with what you've got, because nobody wanted this situation, but it is frustrating. And the legal profession, they've struggled a little bit as well, because there has been, as we talked about before, the push on trying to get houses through and purchases done before the stamp duty ends. So because of people being furloughed and people working from home, it's taking longer. So the whole process that was already taking a bit too long is taking longer.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So let's just pivot quickly then to this particular project. So you're obviously sitting right at this site. So this is currently coming soon on the platform. So it's not a view deal yet. So it's not completely signed off as a financial promotion. But we've obviously been putting a lot of work into getting this ready. Yeah, effectively, this is well, I'll let you describe what the project is in terms of what you're going to achieve.
Yeah, it's a new build residential development of 8 houses. There's 6 4-beds and 2 3-beds, all detached, in a little village called Witcham, which is just outside Ely, and it's in Cambridgeshire. It's very picturesque indeed. The site has got detailed planning consent, all the pre-commencement conditions have been discharged. We're now currently just finalising the build costs. So this morning I had a meeting with the contractor and the ground worker, because it's quite it's low level site and it's on clay, so therefore it's a bit of an interesting drainage system for the surface water, which has a bit of a cost implication, but that's absorbed in the fact that we've got a lower house or lower land price. The intention is to try and raise some capital via LEOcrowdfunding, so we can purchase the site and then we can start this site. Probably, let's say we got it through in 8 weeks to purchase, then we could start pretty much immediately from the completion of the purchase.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so this is one that you've been working on, and location wise, I know you're very excited by kind of the setting in Witcham. It's a rural sort of village, but obviously you're very happy with the research in terms of comparables and the demand for property, and I know you're keen to get this project moving. Very
much so. Demand is high. Going on from the conversations you've had over the last few weeks, people are beginning to realize space is more important now than potentially location, especially when they've been working from home. I think the way that people have changed their working practices, they may only need to be in the office twice a week. There's a direct train link from Ely to London, which is just over an hour. So these family homes are obviously going to be cheaper than in the centre of London, or historically cheaper than. Good schools, good locations, great place to bring your family up, and yet you can be in London within an hour. So a couple of days a week, it's great. And incorporated within the designs now, we're trying to make sure there is a home office area.
Brilliant. Okay. No, that's fantastic. Look forward to getting this launched. So just to finish off, do you want to just jump out of the car and give a quick pan around before we wrap up the call? It'd be useful for the attendees.
Bear with me as I get out.
Yeah.
Oh. So I have a question for Adam in the future.
Yeah.
It might be nice if we had someone with your expertise lead us through a little mini session on the stages of planning. You talked about detailed sign off. You talked about conditions, discharge. If we could sort of almost get a taxonomy or a timeline for what does this all mean, so that we can, as passive investors, we get our head around what the hell you're talking about.
It'd be my pleasure to. As I said, I'm very happy to help people along the way. And if I can help or guide people, even if they're in the middle of something that is going slightly awry, there's ways that we can deal with it. So that's not a problem.
Perfect.
Adam, I've got one more question for you as well.
Okay.
Do you have a construction management plan agreed with the local planning authority yet? And is it available online somewhere?
The construction management plan was done by the vendors, and it has been discharged. So yes, it is on the planning portal, but I can send that through to Leo as well.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah, so we're watching our time here. So if you can just, sort of pan around, that would be, I think, very useful, and give people an opportunity to see exactly where you're.
Yeah, I'm just trying to change my camera.
Yeah, there you are now. We'll have it there now. We had it.
Have we got it now?
Yeah. You're back to yourself again. Even just turn your camera around will do, without flipping it.
I'll just try once more. Does that work?
Yeah, actually flip now. Yep, actually now. There you go. So there is the site. You're standing at the site in Witcham. That is so cool to see that actually live.
Yeah. And that's the main road to the front of it. And this leads us up to the centre of Witcham, which is literally 2 minutes walk away. But as you can see, the site is very flat, and it is ready to go.
Excellent. Okay. Listen, Adam, absolutely fantastic. Thank you. You can maybe put yourself on mute for us there. You're welcome to stay on the call if you want to get back into the car for the last 5 minutes, or if you do need to go on, that's fine. If you're still on, you can say a final goodbye. But let's get on quickly with the rest of what we have, and we can wrap up. It was really good there. We thought it was useful just to take that time and let Adam show the actual site. So in terms of wrapping up here the last couple of minutes, Citygate House in Leicester, it is view deal currently, should be going live, we plan early next week. So those of you that have already recorded your interest on this project, then you'll be able to obviously take action if you're ready to take action. If those haven't, download the document, read the full offer document, and if you so wish, you can then register your interest. Next one then is Oak Gardens. John, I want you just to comment on this one, because we're I know Tatiana's had some really good progress in the last couple of days on this, so I'm happy to share that first, or if you want to share, because I know Tatiana's a client of yours, just some of the good milestones she's reached.
So Tatiana and her company is a client. She's leading a development project for what is essentially a larger family home. All the details on the project are available on the site. Oak Gardens is the name. The interesting point is, to me, there's 30 people who have already pledged towards this raise. It's over 50% towards its target of 100,000. I think the upper limit is 160,000. If people exceed the 100, that's fine. The project is moving forward. She's got full planning sign off now. She's working on getting some of the conditions discharged. I know she's interviewing project managers. She's got the builders selected. There are a number of other well, maybe not little, but there are a number of other things being completed so that the funds can be released from the loan to start construction. So this is definitely moving right along. Would like to see it funded. Yeah, that's always a good thing, but she's charging along as it is.
Yeah, and the other, just yesterday, she was able to send me confirmation that the valuation was completed on behalf of the senior debt, and it came in at the 1.5 million that she had anticipated, and on which her figures are based. So we now have written confirmation from an independent valuer that the site is worth what we have done the analysis on, which I think is fantastic news. So as you say, it's not unusual for crowdfunding raises to sort of have a momentum at the start, and then in the middle, people are checking things out and they're reading the documents and they look at it and go, oh, it's 2 weeks to go. I don't need to worry about that yet. And then as we get near the final 4 or 5 days is when you tend to get another spike in investment. So we're very confident this will reach its target. And a number of people are just obviously doing their final checks and wanting to watch the project videos and just make their final calls before actually deciding to invest. So yeah, looking forward to getting this one funded over the next 9-10 days. So in terms of property consultancy, everyone knows you can contact John and myself if you want to reach out to us. More than happy to talk to people on an individual basis. So just finish with reminding everyone, 26th of February is our date for our masterclass crowdfunding. We'll get the link out, Eventbrite link, where you can actually register as soon as possible. Asher's working on that behind the scenes. And that really brings us to the finish of today. So a little bit longer today than normal, but I think it was worth spending the extra time. It was great, Adam, getting to sort of know you better, understand your background, understand your experience. Hopefully you've enjoyed being on the call and being live on YouTube.
Yes, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
Brilliant, that's grand. And is John or Asher, any last minute comments before we wrap up?
There was a comment from one of the guests today that part of the shift in population in London is also attributable to the declining birth rate. So it's more of a long-term trend and not specific to COVID. I thought that was interesting because it highlights you should look at the demographics.
Yeah, okay. Okay, well, listen, that's us for today. Thank you, everyone, again for joining. Hope you found value. We always like good feedback, so you know, let us know privately. John, Asher, myself, let us know how you're enjoying these sessions. I think we've got really good value today in terms of someone on the ground, literally today on the ground, out in the world of property. And it's good to see that construction is obviously still happening, even given our current climate. So listen, thanks so much, everyone, for your time today. Have a great